$5,780. The SMC-M 1/2 root needs its own proof. Professor Rahman joins the desk because she studies how disability findings map onto special monthly compensation levels. Stay with us. In Scene 5, you'll get a 6-line audit that separates a real M 1/2 root from a number that merely looks close. First, watch the calculator beside the printed rate chart. The money is visible, the entitlement path isn't.
The M base row is $371.45 per month lower. Annualized, that gap is $4,457.40. What does that buy legally? Nothing by itself.
Yeah, the M 1/2 rate row isn't M plus half of something informal. It's a legal level with scheduled combinations and regulatory step-up routes.
Read the label as an intermediate rate, not a bonus percentage. The underlying findings must support that precise level.
VA's 2026 payment schedule began December 1st, 2025. For a veteran alone, the M row is $5,408.55. M 1/2 is $5,780. The N upper row is $6,152.64.
Erica, M 1/2 sits between M and N, so the table tells me the root.
No, it gives the amount, not entitlement.
Right, the root still has to come from the findings. My spreadsheet can't manufacture that column.
An award doesn't automatically jump. Someone may see M on a decision and assume the next review should split the difference, but the VA doesn't promote cases because another row exists.
The decision needs a direct scheduled combination or a valid regulatory elevation from a lower SMC level. If neither appears, the $5,780 line isn't supported.
So the fast audit isn't M plus desire. It's base finding plus named path.
And the named path has to match the body and the ratings. A close-sounding loss isn't interchangeable.
Look at the paperwork beside the calculator. One page can show a payment total, while the reasons section carries the route. Read both. A correct deposit with an unclear rationale is still hard to audit.
That's the central discipline for this episode. Never reverse engineer entitlement from the deposit alone.
That leaves one hinge. Does an SMC-M decision automatically move to M 1/2 because that's the next row?
No. The next scene starts with the scheduled combinations that can place a claim directly on the M 1/2 row.
Carry that distinction forward. Coming up, the exact limb and sensory pairs collide with the independent rating rules. The amount attracts attention, but the named path earns the row. Let me pause for just a second because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming. The scheduled path begins with exact pairs. A severe extremity loss can qualify for substantial SMC and still miss M 1/2 if the second finding or anatomical level doesn't match the published combination.
What's the minimum useful model? 2 columns, finding 1, finding 2. If I can't fill both from the decision, the path isn't auditable.
Fair point, but start with the vocabulary. Amputated means physical loss. Loss of use means the remaining function is no better than an appropriate amputation with prosthesis. The labels can't be swapped because the picture feels equivalent.
Here is the ruling from the current VA schedule. The arm or leg level matters. One group combines a knee amputation with a second leg too close to the hip for a prosthesis. Another pairs it with an arm too close to the shoulder for a prosthesis.
A knee amputation plus any arm condition would mean…
No. The schedule requires the arm near the shoulder.
Right, I tried to compress a precise pair into a severity slogan. That shortcut loses the actual test.
Think of 2 keyed connectors. One impressive plug does nothing if the second socket is the wrong shape. The analogy is limited. Bodies are not hardware, and the VA findings still control.
Watch the therapist guide movement. Clinical work can document function, balance, and prosthetic use. It doesn't assign the SMC row by itself. The adjudicated findings have to match the regulatory words.
What changes when the first loss is at the elbow? The schedule pairs that amputation with a leg too close to the hip. It also pairs one hand with an elbow amputation or loss of use of that elbow.
The way the list reads, forget memorizing every line. Copy the exact pair from the decision and compare it to the official M1/2 section. That's faster and safer.
The schedule includes loss of use combinations too. Do not infer the row from severity alone. One line pairs loss of use of a knee with a leg near the hip or an arm near the shoulder. Another pairs loss of use of a hand with an elbow amputation or loss of use of the elbow.
So my efficiency rule has 4 fields. Record the side and the joint or segment, then record physical loss versus loss of use and the paired finding. Missing one field means stop and read the reasons section again.
Here is a prosthetic fitting followed by supported walking. Notice the fit and the assisted first steps. Those are observable rehabilitation facts, not a substitute for the legal pair.
That distinction protects the viewer from a common mistake, using moving footage or a diagnosis label to fill a finding the decision never made.
And here is lower extremity prosthetic motion in another setting. Useful context, 0 entitlement by itself.
Direct scheduled entitlement is exacting, but it is not the only path. Vision and hearing combinations occupy their own branch. Mixed loss routes are there too, and that is where we go next.
Professor Rahman is back with us for the sensory branch. One sentence that says blindness isn't enough. The exact residual vision and the paired hearing or extremity finding determine which row the schedule supports.
Yes, total blindness with light perception remaining isn't the same finding as no light perception. The schedule uses those distinctions deliberately.
What are the light perception findings in the actual pair? Read those, not the umbrella diagnosis.
One direct M1/2 route is total blindness with only light perception in one eye, paired with physical loss of the other eye or no light perception in the other eye.
Yeah, one phrase can hide 2 measurements and a hearing loss threshold. If the award says severe visual impairment but never states what each eye can perceive, the M1/2 audit stops too early.
The same caution applies to hearing. Some combinations call for total deafness in one ear. Another uses bilateral deafness rated at least 30%. Those are not interchangeable descriptions.
Which hearing fact did the VA actually adjudicate? The test matters, but the SMC question still asks which threshold and which vision pattern were paired.
Watch the ear examination. It demonstrates where hearing evidence may be developed. A hand or foot finding may complete a different mixed route. This clip proves neither one.
And the mixed routes get even more precise. Blindness in one eye with light perception in the other can pair with a foot amputation or qualifying loss of use of a foot. Other listed lines use a hand amputation or loss of use of a hand.
So any foot rating completes the pair.
K, no, preserve the exact amputation or loss of use threshold.
Understood. My shortcut failed again because it deleted the threshold. Exact vision pattern, exact second system, exact severity.
The schedule also includes blindness in both eyes paired with total deafness in one ear, and a route involving blindness requiring aid and attendance paired with a specified loss of use of one foot. Each route is a conjunction, not a menu of interchangeable hardships.
Watch the white cane move through the space. It shows a mobility technique and a real access need. It can't reveal light perception, the second eye finding, or the paired hearing threshold.
That boundary is respectful and legally useful. The footage shows lived function. The medical and adjudicative record supplies the elements the regulation names.
Before we get to the 6-line award audit, build a 2-line sensory map for the first eye and second eye. Then add the paired ear, hand, or foot finding on a 3rd line. If a threshold is absent, ask for it rather than rounding the story upward.
That settles the scheduled routes. Next comes the part people call stacking, where a separate 50 or 100% disability can move a base SMC level under a different rule.
Professor Rahman, thank you. We leave the scheduled pairs here and carry their exactness into the step-up rules. A valid stacking analysis begins with the base SMC level, then asks whether a separate permanent disability earns an intermediate or full step increase under Section 3.350, subsection F.
The money question is finally arithmetic adjacent, but not arithmetic only. Starting at M, a qualifying independent 50% disability can move the award to M 1/2.
I disagree, Kai. That version skips what independent means. Ask the regulation before you count the rating.
Good redirect. The added condition needs its own permanent rating of at least 50%. It can't be one of the disabilities establishing the base SMC. It must also sit in a different anatomical segment or bodily system.
150 plus the base root. No, let me say that cleanly. We don't add 50% to the dollars. The regulation advances the SMC level by one intermediate step.
Erica, exactly. A separate schedular 100% rating can produce a full step under a different rule. Here, $5,408.55 does not get multiplied by 1.5. The 50% root moves to the published M 1/2 row if the legal conditions are satisfied.
The rule can use one or more additional permanent disabilities that independently reach the required 50% mark. But disabilities used to establish the base SMC can't be recycled as the added step.
So if the M award already rests on the same lower extremity losses, another rating drawn from those same anatomical losses may fail the separate and distinct screen.
Which conditions built the base and which one supplies the added step? That's the safest reading when the decision answers both. An opaque decision needs a line-by-line reconstruction.
Watch the folders get sorted. One folder is the base SMC anatomy, the other is the independent disability. The visual is simple because the legal job is separation.
Now the 100% route. A single permanent disability independently rated 100% can advance the award to the next higher statutory rate or intermediate rate, subject to the ceiling.
The table leaves one live question. Does a separate 100% rating always create M 1/2?
No. The starting level controls the landing level. Starting at L 1/2, a full step can land on M 1/2. Starting at M, a full step lands on N. Same added rating, different destination because the base is different.
But individual unemployability doesn't satisfy this 100% provision. The regulation requires a single permanent disability independently rated 100% apart from individual unemployability.
Fair point, and that is where shorthand causes expensive confusion. 100% pay through individual unemployability is not the same input as a separate schedular 100% disability for the step-up rule.
Now watch the paperwork get sorted into distinct stacks. Before claiming an elevation, label the base SMC conditions and the added rating. Then record permanence and the anatomical system. Finally, identify whether the rating is schedular or individual unemployability.
That 5-field card is the fastest way to stop a false stack before it reaches the dollar total. The deposit hit at $5,780, but the reasons page only said special monthly compensation. Outcome first, root withheld. What proves the path? That's the moment to audit.
Let me build the 6 lines. Base level, direct scheduled pair or regulatory elevation, added disability and percentage. Separate anatomy, effective date, published payment row.
That pays the promise from the opening. First, name the base SMC findings. Those 6 lines distinguish direct M 1/2 entitlement from an M award elevated by an independent 50% disability. They also expose a 100% step that passes through or lands elsewhere.
I would add a 7th number. The monthly difference becomes another eligibility test.
No, the root can't come from the dollar gap.
Jasmine agreed. The difference from M is $371.45 per month, but it isn't an entitlement element.
That total confirms the gap. It still can't identify the legal root.
Now watch the records and evidence index get reviewed. The useful page is the one that tells you which finding supports which line, not the page with the largest stack of paper.
Keep the base anatomy and added rating separate. Picture Denise, a 68-year-old veteran whose award already establishes SMC-M. Her new rating is permanent and independently 50%, but it involves the same anatomy used for M. The percentage looks right, the separation question remains unresolved.
Change one fact. The independent permanent 50% rating involves a different bodily system and is separate from every condition used for M. Now the intermediate step route may fit, assuming the rest of the regulation is satisfied.
That's why a condition list isn't enough. Think of my card catalog. Every drawer needs one label, and every condition needs one stated job in the construction.
We also need to keep other payment components in their own lanes. Dependency adjustments change the amount for a spouse, children, or parents according to the rate table. They don't create M1/2 entitlement.
And a qualifying SMC-K award can add $139.87 under the current table in many constructions, subject to the VA's listed exceptions. That is a separate component, not proof of the M1/2 route.
Here is the ruling. Status rows and entitlement routes must not be collapsed. Dependency can change the row amount. K can be separately payable where allowed. Neither substitutes for the scheduled pair or regulatory step that establishes M1/2.
My pencil rule for this page is simple. One margin note for the route, another for the total. Watch the va.gov records area open, then the benefit letter download path.
The page gets the letter quickly. Now watch the final forms. Do the path, date, and separate components reconcile?
Put a check beside each of the 6 lines only when the decision or a controlling source supplies it. A blank line is a question to investigate, not an invitation to invent a favorable stack.
My verdict is blunt. Lead with the route, not the deposit. Money creates urgency. The named findings create a defensible award.
Send this to anyone helping you read a $5,780 decision. The 6-line audit is faster than arguing from a total neither of you can reconstruct.
If this made the $5,780 route easier to audit, like this episode and subscribe. We'll keep tracing VA benefit rules to their source. Which line in your own award is clearest, and which line still needs a better explanation? Walk away with this. The deposit is the cross-check. The named route is the entitlement. Keep the official table open. Take care, and we'll meet again at the next desk.